Hello. Sorry about the ads, folks. I know that sucks. I know it's irritating. That bing was the bing of my bagel noise. Maybe my bagel is complete. I have to go check on it. Hold on a second. I like it a little toasty or something, even a couple minutes ago or so. So anyway, you may have missed it, but I went to get a bagel. I'm toasting a bagel as we speak. What amazing excitement there is here on the internet today. I'm also very excited because I still have that just woke up morning voice, which is like slightly deeper and gruffier than my normal nasal and irritating voice. That's like my favorite, like 5 minutes of the day. The first 5 minutes in the morning, like when my voice sounds like a sexy radio DJ's voice, and then like slowly it returns back to its normal dorkiness. Go well. Well, I didn't shave in the past few days, and I haven't. I This is my bedhead, but I mean like compared to like what was this par for course a month ago, I would say this is still relatively immaculate. I saw someone knows comment before, like, look at the progression of Cooney heads in the video boxes below. It's really true. It's like if I look at the one with the white shirt down there, where I look like some type of Bedouin, like like traveling homeless man, and then compare it to recently. Yeah, Lip Blossom. I like the old look too. But I'm gonna give this one like a couple months and see how it goes, and then if I get more ass in that given month, then I'm gonna keep this look. If not, then I'm just gonna go back to the old way because it's a lot of work. If for nothing, like like in my neighborhood, there's this guy who keeps this garden, flower garden in front of his house, and it looks really nice. But literally, he spends probably half his life trimming the flowers, watering them, making them look nice. And I realize that's like his hobby, but it's important and it's fun for him, and it's necessary for him for the front of his house to look nice. There's a box of dirt, actually two boxes of dirt in front of my house that once had plants that are now dead. This is pretty much how I feel about cosmetic things as well. There's some people out there who really like to tend to that garden and spend a lot of time, making sure it looks nice for everybody else to see. And then there's me who says, yeah, really, who gives a shit? Seriously. I don't have to look at it. I'm inside the house. It's the other people outside the house that have to look at it. So it's their problem, not mine. Like, I want the inside of my house to look nice. But who gives a shit about the front of it? Yeah, well, Hilsey, that, however, is a very excellent point. You need to look nice to your viewers? I don't know. I don't know. Do I? Like, I think, um, honestly, handsome and comedy do not go well together. They are not bedfellows. I think looking good and looking funny are two entirely different things, and I have decidedly gone the comedy route with my career. So um, that's it. You know. See, now I knew someone was gonna say, "What about Fast Track?" I knew someone was gonna say, "What about Dane Cook?" But what I said was, funny comedians have to be not good looking, and Dane Cook doesn't actually fall into that category technically. So I stand by my my statement. Now, actually, Dane Cook is funny in that he's a great performer. Dane Cook is a theater arts major, and I've met a bunch of guys like this who does a really good stand-up comedian impression. Like they're he's great. He's a great at performance. He's a great you know he gets behind the joke, and he really sells it confidently, which is nice. But essentially, like if you actually read any of his jokes on paper, they would all pretty much suck. They would sound like something that some retarded idiot friend of yours from college said one day when he was drunk or stoned. Almost verbatim. Um, but he sells it really well. I mean, he's a great performer, you know. But I don't think of him as a comedian, you know. That's just my opinion. Again, I shouldn't talk trash about people who are more talented than I am. But I do have to go get my bagel, so hold on. There's one important question now for me, and that's butter or cream cheese. It's an onion bagel. What do you guys think? We got four for cream cheese, one for butter, 5-2, 6-3, 6-4. It's on onion. 7-4, 8-4, 9, 9-4 plus one fuck butter. It's decided. And I realized I can use the plate from yesterday's Domino's pizza. It's still okay. That is true. I don't have the vat of cream cheese. I have like these little cream cheese squares. But they're not bad. They do not suck completely. And even more exciting, this bagel is from Costco, where I am now a member, which has like improved my quality of life exponentially. Oh, put on a schmear. Nice. Nothing like smearing cream cheese on the bagel. Oh, I'll get to the Costco video. Hell, dude, you'd be lucky if you got any video lately. I sucked. I've been such a tool. Seriously, seriously, where are my videos? I suck. I know. Yeah, the 3 pound block cream cheese from Costco would be nice. There's so many things at Costco though. The only shitty part is because I don't have a car, I have to basically what I do is I bring like rolling luggage when I go to Costco, like like the wheels on it, and until that's filled up, I know isn't that the most ghetto thing you've ever heard in your life? And then I have to like take that back on the train. But like so, there's a limit to how much I can get each time. I go up there, and it's pretty fucking far to get there. It's like at least an hour to get there. So it's kind of a pain in the ass. Splurge on the taxi, Jesus, Tanya. Though a taxi to Costco from here would be like $200 each way. Not joking. I could rent a car. I could rent a car, and that would be like maybe like $60 or $70, I think, for a day. Or yeah, just get a friend with a. That's the thing is, I have to just find a friend who has a car, but not a Costco card, and have them go with me, and then they can get what they want, and I get the ride. I would love a motorbike with a sidecar. That's like would be the coolest one things ever. Like the two fat ladies. Anybody remembers that show? Sorry, I'm going to eat while vlogging. That was disgusting, but I just woke up. Yes, Joe Max D. Joe Maddox. Hence my appropriately titled name. Anyway, today's agenda in Tokyo, not so exciting. Bagel. And then I've got a couple hours worth of work to do on my computer in my apartment in Tokyo. And then a comedy show tonight around 8. And then comes the weekend because it's Friday here. Thank goodness. Noon Friday in Tokyo. But I have to work Saturday all day. I have to work tomorrow from 10 a.m. to like 8 p.m. Doing again that stupid fucking video game for someone. But they're doing German, I think, tomorrow. We're doing the German language version of it. So far we've done Spanish, Italian, and French. And basically I spend like 12 hours in a room listening to people scream. Like in a narration booth. Screaming and heavy breathing for like 12 hours. It's the weirdest thing in the world. And the best part is like each time we do it, it's like a different language. So it's interesting noticing like that, like how the French people scream in comparison to how the Italian people scream. The French ones are the best at it, I would say. The scared screaming and heavy breathing, the French narrators, they had it down. The Spanish one it seemed a little bit different. I'm really excited about German. That's going to be really fun. I'm really excited. Anyway, I'm still not sure why they have me there, or what my purpose of being there is. Because apparently all I do is sit there, and occasionally, very occasionally, they have me like the director explains something. It's very like that. It's very much like that scene, like in Lost in Translation, where the director has this long explanation and then says it to the interpreter, and the interpreter is just like classier, you know. It's like is that all he said? Because like sometimes the director will turn to me and he'll like give me this whole long spiel in Japanese and be like, "Can you explain that to the narrator?" I'll be like, "All right," and then this like poor French person who barely speaks any English. I'm like, could you breathe more like, I don't know, sadder? Like a sadder breathing? Joe Max D, Joe Maddex. I love how every single one of you type of people, like just come into my room for the first time. It's those first two. It's always the first two things. One, are you really in Tokyo? And two, you look high, which tells me that tells me two things about 80% of the people who wander into this show. 80% of them are not in Tokyo, and 80% of them are high. Funny that how the high person thinks everybody else he sees looks high. You should just be lucky I'm not drunk. That was fun. My actually vaguely related to me. The last great white boxer. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask, in sumo, Japan's national sport, the sport has been almost completely taken over by foreigners. Like, like seriously, like the top rankings are just like it's just filled with foreigners. Like Japanese people just suck at sumo. Apparently, it's Mongolians. It used to be Samoans. And now it's Mongolians mainly. Some like Kazakhstanis, like Eastern, like far Eastern Europeans. But they've just like run out all the Japanese competition, and they actually have limits now on like a stable instead of like a team. They call it a stable, and so each stable has to have a limit on the number of foreigners they're allowed to have in their stable. So they have to have at least so many. Like there's like a quota system, but even with the quota system, it just means that like the top 25% of the sport is the 25% of the sport allowed to be foreigners, and the bottom 75% are all the other Japanese people who are there because of the quota system. And it's really turned a lot of people off the sport. Like now, a lot of like, Japanese people don't want to watch it because it's like it's just every time you watch it, you just get to watch the Japanese guy get his ass kicked by the Mongolian, and it gets kind of killed it for a lot of people. But what I say, and this is like what I tell my Japanese friends, like there was a time in America when like Irish boxers were like the thing, like, and as an Irishman, like there was a time, when like like they were like a whole world of Irish boxers. You don't see a lot of that anymore. You don't see a whole lot of that anymore, and the sport's great though. It's exciting. It's a very exciting sport. It's just the transition for the audience is very difficult to watch from a racial perspective. Like watching a sport like where your group of people used to be great at it, slowly getting pushed out, is really kind of not fun for some people who like the sport. But some people who like the sport don't give a shit. They just think, wow, this guy's really good. Who gives a crap where he's from? So like the audience changes over the years. I think it's not different for sumo. Although the Japanese would argue that my comparison of boxing and sumo, replacing, like say Irish with, African Americans, Latinos, is not fair because sumo is actually a religious activity. It's connected to the Shinto religion. It's, has a lot of culture in it. It's, there's more. It's more than just a sport. It's a cultural slash spiritual activity. But I say fuck that. It's fighting. It's a it. But oh well. Fast tracks, as I'm far aware, no. It's unthinkable that there would be a fight or any kind of hooliganism at a soccer match, in my mind. I mean, I could never imagine a Japanese audience doing that. They're way too lame. There's only one, like, famous example of kind of Japanese sports hooligan fans, and that's the Osaka Hanshin Tigers baseball team fans. Their fans are like renowned throughout the country for being psychos. And so what the biggest thing they've done like over the years, yeah, it's generally the Tigers or the Giants is a big thing, but yeah, the Giants always win, so it's not as exciting. It's like the Giants are like the Yankees, It's like they buy everybody good, so they always win. Anyway, but like the Osaka guys like have what you would call rioted after like winning, like LA style. But like that rioting involves they all go to this bridge, the Dotonbori Bridge, and the men get naked and jump into the river. That's pretty much it. They don't set any cars on fire. They don't loot stores. The only thing they've ever done. This was about 30 years ago. They stole. This is a very famous story. They stole a statue of Colonel Sanders from in front of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and they threw Colonel Sanders over the side into the river. And that was like, I think that was like 20 years ago or something like that. And from then on, the team sucked. Like they couldn't win a game after they threw Colonel Sanders into the river, and it's referred to as the curse of Colonel Sanders. And so after that, they believe that Colonel Sanders was angry. The ghost of Colonel Sanders was angry at the team, so they were not allowed to. I had that. I'm gonna look at Wikipedia. There's actually a link on Wikipedia for this. There, Curse of the Colonel. But interestingly, and this is why I bring this up. What? What? Fuck. Piece. All right. For some reason, it's not letting me paste a link. What the hell? You still let me do it. Not good. Let me try. Another idea. Works. Ah, damn it! I tried dragging it. That didn't work. Command V doesn't work. Just because this fucking fuck you noise. Can't right click on a Mac, dude. Anyway, Hillsy's got the Curse of the Colonel up there. But anyway, so about, yes, as Akane's just posted a link, about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, they recovered the statue of Colonel Sanders from the bottom of the river. They They went, like I said, sent down scuba divers, and they got a big crane and they dragged him up from the bottom of the river after like being down there for 20 years. And so now like KFC is having this big celebratory thing, and so if you go to like any KFC in the country, you can get like a little Colonel Sanders keychain, and they have the clean white original version, and they have the like the nasty been in the river for 20 years version on the keychain. It's pretty hilarious. Didn't get one. Exactly. Because I have my own Colonel Sanders merchandise. Hello, people. Hello, YouTube. Thanks, Tanya. But that's just one of those things that like a different country. It's kind of like that, like the gods must be crazy when the African tribesman finds the Coke bottle and he's just like, woo, you know, like the idea that like this entire like Japan sport team's fan club is afraid that Colonel Sanders has placed a curse on their team. It's just it's that clash of cultures that's just so fucking amazing and wonderful. Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a religion based on KFC. Nah, they have hockey. Like people play it for fun, but there's no like teams really. I wonder if they even compete in the Winter Olympics in that. I wonder. They might. There might be university level teams. You're right, Fast Tracks. It does. The Nippon Ham Fighters. The Music 25. I did. Trust me. It was the first place I thought to put Colonel Sanders was in Kenji's fish tank. I like they can't finish the bagel because these people keep talking to me. And speaking of which, I think we need some background music for this, don't you? But it look, so if I guess I didn't already look stoned, I can make myself look more stoned. I'm not though, obviously. I've been in Tokyo for 8 years. Okay, 8 years just as of last July. What's my job here? There's a little bio actually beneath this talking video head, which answers many of these questions. But I'm a writer, comedian. Occasionally, I perform in front of the camera, but I try not to because I suck at it, and it's embarrassing. Actually, online poker junkie, I'm not. Thank God. after 8 years, I've managed to finally claw my way up into a somewhat normal-sized place. But yeah, for the first 7 years or so, actually the first 5 years, I was in like the tiniest little apartment you could possibly imagine. Oh man. The TCS, like, is the Tokyo Comedy Store. It's a comedy group I perform with. We actually have a show tonight, so if anyone's in Tokyo and wants to come see some comedy, English comedy in Tokyo, check us out tonight, a date. But the mainstays of the of the group have been the same for as long as I've been here. Right, the main people: me, Ken Suzuki, Spring, Cuddy, Dave. You know, it's been us for a long time. But in that intervening time, there's been a lot of people who have come and gone, right, for a year or two. And then they eventually leave and go back to their real life. But, like, essentially, like, what I would call the mainstays have been here forever. There's only one real mainstay that's left, and that's Michael, who, I mean, you guys met him at least once on this show, if you ever saw that. And he was in my MMA fighting video. No, actually, in Fate's Wishes, this is there's a slight problem in Cooney Town. My laptop is no longer amongst the living. I'm hoping I get it back from the Apple Store in a week, I guess. Hopefully I'll get it back before next week, but right now I'm tied to my desktop. It sucks because I've been doing all of my writing and work on my laptop, and so now it feels really weird trying to do, it's the same job and it's just a different computer, but it feels really weird doing it on my desktop, because my desktop is for watching The Daily Show and masturbating, and my laptop is for work, you know? And so it feels weird, like, doing, like, my work in a place where I usually watch Jon Stewart, you know? But it is, it's weird. It was kind of like there's a dividing line between work and pleasure. Like, the laptop, like, stays in my bag, and it never, like, when I get home, I do not take the laptop out of the bag, you know, although I could technically then use the computer anywhere in my house. It's weird. It's like, hey, down the line. Willkommen. Yeah, it's an iBook. Oh, Jesse James, trust me, you are not. Although I think there might be more people who masturbate to Colbert, honestly. I think the level of fandom, like, for the people who really love Colbert, it's slightly more hardcore than the Jon Stewart fans. Like, everybody likes Jon Stewart, you know, it's good. But the level of obsessiveness with, like, Colbert is a little bit different, I think. Online poker junkie. Are women in Japan more attracted to Caucasians like you? Do you feel more popular? I'm white? Ah! Well, basically, everybody's got their thing. You know, everybody's into something, right? You know, everybody's got their thing they're into. Like, some Like, some people like this, some people like that. It's the same thing with Japanese people. So there's like a percentage of Japanese women who like really like foreign men. Like they only date foreign men. That's it. Like once you've gone gaijin, you never go back. Exactly, Pestrex, the jerk. It's like once you go gaijin, you don't go back kind of thing. But that's like a certain percent of the population. I cannot even begin to venture a guess what percent of the population that is. For the wide majority of Japanese girls, though, I think if I just had to give an average, most of them would say, I wouldn't mind maybe going on a couple dates for a little bit for at one point in my life with a foreigner, but I am not gonna marry one, and I'm absolutely definitely not gonna ever introduce him to my family. You know, so I think it's like it's in this world of fantasy, like it's a kind of like it's like yeah, it'd be cool to date for a while in like my 20s, just to see what that's like. But marrying a guy from a different country, nah. Like and Brian77, anti-gaijin racism. Like I don't think so. Be honest, I don't. I am very much a proponent of Japan, peace-loving nation, and it makes me sound like to some people like an apologist for Japan. But to be honest, it's people who come here are fucking paranoid, and every single fucking thing that happens to them, like, oh what? Because I'm a gaijin? What is that? Because I'm a gaijin? It's like no, because you don't speak Japanese, dickhead. That's why. It's because you don't speak Japanese and you're in a foreign country, so you should shut the fuck up, you know? So many times it's just some obnoxious foreigner who's like blaming the fact that the restaurant's not serving them, not on the fact that it's 11:05 and the restaurant closed 5 minutes ago, but on the fact that they're white, you know? And it's often because like they don't speak the language, they don't understand what's going on around them, so they interpret everything through this paranoid prism of oh, this is happening to me because I'm a foreigner. And it's really irritating. Because, like, if you talk to anyone who's been here, like, I mean, 8 years is not that long. If you talk to my friends who've been here 10, 20 years, they'll all tell you the same thing I'm saying. Like, the wide majority of them, like 20-year, like, veterans, will say, essentially, it's probably, like, more than half the time, the problem is not the Japanese side, it's the foreign side. It's more often, like, you know, ignorant, newly arrived foreigners who don't know what they're talking about. That are causing, like, stirring the shit pot, you know. Merzinkus, guests will reappear as soon as my computer is fixed. Have I got any embarrassing gaijin friends? I do. I mean, Tikyo Sam, I guess that would be one. But essentially, no. Michael, actually, the guy who left, funnily enough, he used to MC the comedy shows that I do, and he grew up in Seaford, Long Island. I grew up in Wantagh, Long Island, literally next door to each other. And we meet years later here in Tokyo, doing English stand-up comedy in the basement of this fucking bar, and I was like, dude, like, you are like my brother. We are destined to be like best friends. And he looked at me like totally deadpan, and he said, dude, I've been here 15 years. You've been here a year. Talk to me when you've been here 5 years, and then I'll think about being your friend. And I was like, what? Like, and I was like kind of like hurt / confused. And he was absolutely right. Like, he's absolutely right. And the reason is, it's a self-protection thing. And the problem is, like, the longer you live here, the more you have to say goodbye to friends. And every year, I have to say goodbye. Every month, practically, I have to say goodbye to someone. So you get to this point after, like, so many years that, like, you know what? I'm not going to be friends with anybody unless they are married to a Japanese person, or, I don't know, in some way they are legally bound to stay in this country. Like, they're a refugee. Like, but you don't want to start being friends with people who have been here for like 6 months, because at some point when their like year or 2 years of fun is done, they're gonna be like, "Ah, this is fun. I'm going home. Thanks for being my friend for 2 years. Bye." And then they're just another like name on your Facebook page that you randomly see updates from, saying how the life is so much better back home, and you feel like this retard because you're still stuck in Japan. So it's this weird thing that like after a while you start to, once you've been here like a number of years, you start to only want to hang out with people who have been here an equal number of years, or people like guys like I know that are here and are married. They've been here a year but they're married to a Japanese woman. Like it gives you hope. But like I met a lot of really cool people, but and you'll meet them and they'll say, "I will be gone in 7 months." And you're like, "But this is a really funny, interesting, fun person. I really want to hang out with this person." But I don't, because then I'm going to get to like this person, and then in 7 months, they're going to be like, "Well, my year with the scholarship is done. It's been fun. See ya." And they get on that plane and leave. And that's easily, I would say, the hardest part about living in Japan long term. It really starts to suck. And anyway, so the guy who had been here 15 years to my 5, to my 1, he eventually at like 20 something years, he left Japan. He went to Los Angeles. So even that guy, like when he left, I mean, I was distraught. That like shocked me. Like we had been friends for like 6-7 years or so. I thought he was never gonna leave, and then one day he was like, "You know what? I want to go back and try acting in LA." And he was married. He had 2 kids. He was an actor, and basically he just had decided he was doing really, really well here, but like he had hit a glass ceiling as far as a foreigner, because you can never be like the main character of anything, like in a Japanese drama, as a white actor. You're always some side character or some, like if he was in kabuki, he regularly was doing kabuki, but he would always be the missionary or like the military adjunct from Norway or something like that. And I'm sort of like, well, I'm technically in kabuki, but I have a feeling I'm never going to get to be like Tokugawa. I'm always going to be, So for him, it was just like this kind of glass ceiling in his career. Not sumo. It was the guy I went to see MMA with. I went to see like Pride. What I think it was? No, not Pride. Pride was already defunct by then. It was Dream, I think it was called. He's now successfully in LA, but I don't know if he's in LA and successful at the same time. But he did successfully make it to LA, which I give him a lot of credit for. The last I heard, he was doing, some of you might know, it's a really, really long-running one-man show called Caveman, Defending the Caveman. Anybody know that? Anyway, Defending the Caveman, it's about an hour and a half long monologue about relationships. It started in the 80s, and it's kind of like an off-Broadway show. And they have about like 8 guys or so who do it around the country in different cities, like where it's running. And I believe he got a gig doing Caveman, which that's a pretty good gig actually. And I don't know, but his wife has a nursing degree, so she's working. She's the breadwinner for the family right now, and I think he's just walking around with headshots, trying to get jobs. And everybody here, every single one of us at the Comedy Store, who have been his friends, some of them have been his friends for 20 years. Every single one of us, from the deep bottom of our hearts, hope and pray to God that man fails miserably, that he fails and all the expectations are crushed and he's completely humiliated, and he comes back to Japan with his head hung in shame, and he says, "I made a mistake, I never should have left." And we all go, "That's right. Welcome back, Mike." Because the other option is he becomes actually successful, achieves his dream, and all the rest of us who are like in the same industry are like sitting here in Tokyo going, "Wait, what? You can actually do that. It works. You can actually go back and crack into that business. We've all given up. We all, because like that's all it's basically, the long-term guys have given up. Or like we have, comfy jobs here. So it's like nobody wants to go back to actually, the cutthroat world of LA. But if he's actually successful, oh Jesus, that would be heartrending for all of us poor bastards over here. Food massively expensive. Yesterday I was at filming for. I'm writing. My biggest job right now is I'm writing a children's television show. And yesterday was the rehearsals for the show, and one of the actors' sisters is in town, and she's got with her like about a year and a bit old child, and they're traveling around. Actually, they're gonna come see the show tonight. I hope she doesn't bring the kid. But basically, she has to buy foods that the kid likes, so that the kid does not like freak out and get pissed off. So it's been this search to find like these things that the kid likes, and this kid likes things like it's like he somehow got a hold of the list of the most expensive possible things to ever get in Japan, and that's the only things he'll eat. It was hilarious. And so anyway, yesterday I was sitting there and she's feeding him blueberries. And like I have not eaten a blueberry in 8 years in this country because like blueberries are so prohibitively expensive. It's ridiculous. What would it be like that? That little plastic tin, like a quarter, not even a half plastic pack, like the quarter plastic pack. Talking about that little size, it's like just enough to open, and there's like it's one blueberry deep. That box of blueberries. How much would you guess that went for? No. Yeah, about $10. It was about $10. And like, and actually, you could get it. You should get it for like $5. I mean, if you're a good shopper, if you know where to go shopping, I could get a pack of blueberries for $5. But it, and actually her brother and I look at the label and they were like, where the hell did you buy this? Oh my God, you got robbed. But it was like $10. But that was just that was like a normal supermarket price for blueberries. Not even that. I'm not talking about the crazy fruit that's hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. Because it's magical or something. But it's hilarious, But strawberries, for example, the thing is, it's when it's in season. If it's in season, it's really cheap here. Like anywhere. I mean, it's like that anywhere, But the difference is when it's out of season, in Japan, they'll have basically home-grown greenhouse varieties, greenhouse done homegrown stuff. They don't like so much the Costa Rican version of it. So often you'll see in the supermarket, let's say in August, there's some, I don't know, okay, let's say October, there's strawberries in the supermarket in October. There's some strawberries that are $2,000, not but they're crazy expensive because they were grown in a greenhouse by some Japanese farmer. And then next to it is a little sign that says El Salvador strawberries, for $2, So it's all a matter of time of year. So for fresh fruit, things like that, meat as well. It's the biggest difference. Yeah, I've seen the square watermelon. Such a retarded idea. The funniest skit in my children's show. God, don't ask me that question, because unfortunately none of them are. I God, I hope no one from the show is watching this. But it's really difficult to achieve all of the goals of the show, which are to be educational, to be approved by several levels of Japanese government, and also be funny. So to do all three of those things is nearly impossible. But it's possible, but it's tough. So I'm not usually plussed. Brian 77 coffee. That was one of the great myths of Japan. I don't know if this myth is still out there, but the myth of the $8 cup of coffee in Japan. Nah, there is. There is definitely like places that sell a cup of coffee for $10, easily. But they are sky lounges in hotels, like with doilies on the antique furniture you're sitting on. The average coffee shop, just like your on the street coffee shop, sells a cup of coffee for $1. It's $1, $2 for a cup of coffee now in Tokyo. Medium-sized Starbucks, which is probably, I guess, you're small anywhere else in the world, is 340 yen, which is roughly, I mean, if you want to, it's $3.40 for like a smallish Starbucks coffee. That's expensive. But like Starbucks, Tully's, all those chains, they all like have the same price, like $3 for about their medium. Then there's a step down from those shops, which is places that have less style. Like basically they're coffee shops, but there's no style. There's no cachet. There's no like, ooh, I'm in a Starbucks. It's got a mermaid. And those places are Detour, which is actually the largest coffee chain. It was the only coffee chain really before Tully's and all that shit came along. And Detour does their coffee. The size is smaller, but it's like 180 yen. It's like $1.80. And then there's another chain called Cafe Veloce. Cafe Veloce, I think the Watamin Group owns them. I'm not sure who owns them, but that's also the same. It's like 170 to maybe 160 for a coffee. And then, hold on a second. From like any vending machine, you can get canned coffee. For example, this Silky Black Boss, and this is 130 yen. And they even have, I love this part, on the side it's got like Silky as an acronym, which apparently means stylish, intelligent, luxurious, keeps you relaxed. Nice. Yeah, coffee in the vending machine either comes hot or cold. It's got either like a little red mark or a blue mark, depending on which it is. And like, actually, they change out the machines seasonally. So pretty much around this time of year, just as like hot weather's ending, cold weather's starting, they change out at least like one bottom row of the coffee machine, and it becomes all like hot drinks. Like all of the iced teas become corn soup, and all of the iced coffees become like mocha, like cocoa blend or whatever. Like everything like changes over from cold to hot with the seasons change. And the coffee in a can is not bad. It's basically just like injecting a hypodermic needle of caffeine, which actually I think is their next step. Their next marketing step will be actually a small needle in the vending machine, and you pop it out and you roll up your sleeve and you just mainline like some caffeine. Yeah, fast tracks. We had a similar episode where we were teaching the word come to come, and the whole episode was them waiting for a bus to come. And they're like, it's coming, it's coming! Oh, finally, it's coming! But, like, it was just, like, the most juvenile, like, laughter. It was, like, just so incredibly juvenile. But, like, the entire Japanese cast and crew, like, just had no idea why we were laughing. And, like, we're like, nobody tell them. No, because there's a huge chance that they're going to totally rethink, like, every script I've submitted. But, like, they're just like, why do you guys keep laughing? And they're like, we don't know. We're just giggly today, you know? It was just like every time anybody would use the word come, like, people would start, like, the gaijin would start chuckling, you know? You know, so many things like that in Japan, like where, like, it's juvenile, but, like, it's hilarious in a really juvenile way for us. Light Blossom, I'm ready to steal your idea. And actually, I went out of my way to write it so that I would avoid it actually being, like, erotic, but it was still hilarious. But Late Blossom, this is tough. This is very tough because there's almost no food in vending machines. Almost never. Almost never. I mean, I could get drinks, or like they have like these little bags filled with jelly, like vitamin enriched jelly in a bag. But candy, food, it's almost only drinks. The only time you'll see anything is corn soup in winter for some reason, and potato soup. Hot corn and hot potato soup in the vending machine. But candy bars are almost non-existent. The only exception is I work at a TV studio. Inside the building, there are food vending machines, but they're there because literally people are there 24 hours a day, and the restaurants are not open, and it's a huge complex. So they have like this whole like section of food vending machines, but specifically there for people working like from midnight to like 6 in the morning. And inside those vending machines are like entire meals, like whole like meals, like ready to eat, just microwave and then go. And it's like changed out every day, what's in the machine. But it's like that's a weird exception. Like, but on the street. The only time you'll ever see it is sometimes in the subway. You'll see Calorie Mate, which is like it's like, I don't know, an energy bar. It's not even an energy bar. It tastes like shortbread, basically, but it's like something to eat. It tastes like, you know, caulkboard, but it's awful. But it's the only food for some reason they think that and Kit Kats. Occasionally it's a can, kind of like the same shape as this, but it's got Kit Kats inside it. So it's Kit Kats in a can. But those are the only two things I've ever seen food-wise. So if I did try that, I would die. Actually, Ken Suzuki, my fellow comedian, has this joke. It's not really funny, but it's kind of funny because it sounds so racist coming from him. But he's like talking about the movie Super Size Me, where a man tries to live on only food from McDonald's for a month. He said, I think they should make a new version called Chinese Me, where a man tries to eat only meats and vegetables grown in China for a month and see if he doesn't die. Kind of funny when he says it. Actually, by the way, I just realized I have I have an exciting business opportunity for all of you people out there, if anyone is interested. Um, uh, for some of you, this will be absolutely perfect because it will make your life easier. As you know, one of the other things I'm doing is working for this website called gibtv.com. GIBTV is basically a website that streams English language TV shows about Japan on the internet. And we are hiring what we call monitors. And monitors are essentially, actually, you're right, this is a good point. I'm going to record this. Oh. Anyway, so GIBTV, as you know, is a, what would I call it, streaming website that shows English language programming about Japan. It's free. It's at gibtv.com. You can go find it. But anyway, we're currently hiring monitors. And what a monitor does is basically you watch an episode, and then you have to write like a 3 to 5 paragraph review of the show and mail the review to the website. And then we give you, I believe it's a $25 Amazon.com gift card. That's it. It's easy, and especially, I mean, if you're already watching if you're already watching the website, you should obviously do it. But you might have to. I haven't even really totally read it myself. Yeah, so you have to write at least 2 each month during a 6-month period, after which they'll ask you possibly to do it again for another 6 months. But basically, the idea is for us to get thoughtful, thought out, input on the programming from people watching the programming. Basically, I mean, it would be easier if people just emailed their thoughts for free, but to get any good, really thoughtful responses, you have to pay people. So what we're going to do is we're looking for monitors. If you would like to be a monitor, just go to the website Hilsey has just put there, and I guess you could do it for free, but I wouldn't. I mean, think about that, Amazon.com gift card. What can't you do with that? It's enough to buy a new Rihanna album or something. But basically, yeah, it's being paid to watch TV. I don't actually know, because again, this doesn't fall within my job capacity, so I'm not totally aware of it. But I believe they're looking for 25 to 30 people. So if you do want to do it soon, because I think they might run out of spaces. There's a limited number of people we can pay to watch TV. So anyway, check that out. That's just a little informational notice for me. Pretty sure that is a funny fact. I must have told you my. I'm sure some of you heard this. My used condom story in Japan. Now, and I think when he says the word used, it's not in the way that you think he means what he thinks he means. There's a store in Tokyo called Condomania, and Condomania is basically it's a legendary shop. Everybody knows it. It's a famous meeting place. It's a store. They've got 3 locations now. But the main one's in Morosando. It's like right at the crossing of this famous Harajuku Morosando crossing. And basically it's just a shop that sells nothing but condom and condom related merchandise. And it's very hard to miss, which is why it's often a meeting place for foreigners in the city. Anyway, I was in there once, and I was talking to the guy in there. I was like, do you guys have, like, you know, foreign condoms and stuff? Because, and this is, requires a whole explanation. If you are in Japan, you'll notice that you will not find any foreign brand condoms on the shelves in any place. The reason is, to be sold in Japan, condoms must be subjected to two types of stress tests: a water test and an electricity test. In every other country, pretty much, it's only the water test. The companies that make condoms in Japan, basically got the Japanese government to pass a law requiring that all condoms sold in Japan pass these two tests in order to be safe for the market. But every other condom producing company outside of Japan doesn't do that second and unnecessary test. So as a result, they immediately took all competition off the market. So in Japan, you can only buy condoms that are made in Japan. And basically all the other companies in the rest of the world that would make this product are like, that's retarded. Wait, we're not gonna make this other stupid test that means nothing just so we can sell it in your market. So far the other companies have just said, well, fuck it, then we won't sell it in your country, then will we? And so the Japanese condom market is completely cornered by the Japanese. I was in the condom shop, and I mentioned to the guy, like, yeah, so do you guys carry, like, you know, foreign condoms? And he's like, yes. And he brings me over to the corner, and there's this corner full of like Trojans, and he's like, yes, this is our American, you know, condom section. I was like, wow. And he's like, yes, we have many of them. And he goes through this whole long explanation about everything I just told you, like why you can't buy Trojans in, you know, Japan. And I'm like, wow, this is really fascinating. Why are you telling me all this? And why this conversation could have been done after the yes finger point over there to the the Trojan section. And then as he's winding up this like incredibly long explanation of why you can't buy Trojan condoms, like basically there he says, like, for example, we got these from someone who bought too many the last time they were in America and didn't need them, so he sold them to us. So if you're ever back in the States and you perhaps over purchase too many condoms and then need to get rid of them, feel free to stop by. And I'm like, wait, dude, are you asking me to buy like a suitcase full of Trojans and bring them back here for you next time I come through like immigration? You know? Because apparently that's the only way he can get them is by people who bought them abroad reselling them to him. So technically they're used condoms. So like if you buy any like foreign condom in Japan, it's a used condom in that it was previously purchased by someone and then resold, which would be like, good as new, used, just as new, still in package, but nonetheless used would technically be the word you'd have to use. Just James, let me just say it's snug. It's very snug over here. there is a um, design difference. No, it's nothing to do with me personally. Like, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that there is a certain market difference. Hey! Someone brought up used condoms. How could I not tell that story? That's my only used condom story, and I think it's a great story. It says a lot about Japanese, market forces and how different industries are, and penises, and it's a fascinating little yarn I've just spun. I think it's an interesting story. Is the law different for Japanese people and foreign people? No, it's not, online poker junkie. But if you ask most foreigners, you will say that you are treated differently by the law. So, like, the laws themselves are not different. But, like, racial profiling, for example, is a constant annoyance. So for me, it's been like about once a year, I get stopped and like body searched by police officers. It's irritating and humiliating, but like I rarely see them do it to like Japanese men. But if you're caught while being foreign while walking, or being foreign while on a bicycle, then you're absolutely getting stopped. Uh, like, but basically, yeah, it's irritating. But that's it. I mean, but the laws technically should be the same. Oh, like if an immigrant family has a child who doesn't want to have its last name Japan-like, then work law is different. I think you mean if you wanted to have like a foreign name. No, I mean like that shouldn't make a difference. Like you can call yourself whatever you want. You know, you can have like my name could just be written in like my son's name could just be written in Japanese, but in katakana, which would probably how they would do it. But most people I know give their children kanji names, and this is, if you don't want to talk about, kind of a complicated explanation. But anyway, no, the laws would be the same. But what would not be the same is, like when they go to school, the amount of bullying they encounter from other kids, or the number of times some teachers, like for example, racist ones, might pick on them in a good or bad way. Like there was one really great example of a lawsuit that happened in Kyushu, where this mentally ill teacher of an elementary school had, I believe it was a half Chinese student, and like made the kids stand in class and explain to the entire class that this student, mother had probably been raped, and like it was like went on this like crazy tirade, and he then apparently been doing it for like months. He had been like embarrassing this kid and like humiliating the kid, and no one said anything. The kid just like sucked it up until finally the kid said, "My teacher keeps making me stand at class, and he talks about how I'm a half-breed and that we should all be careful of him," and stuff like that. And then like immediately the school was like, "What the fuck?" And like that teacher was gone, in a second. But it's like, yeah, I mean, there's their random dude out there, There's always one here, one there, They're in every country. But and vice versa. I've had I remember when I used to teach English, I was teaching a middle-aged Japanese guy who was an English teacher. He's a teacher at a high school or something like that. And I taught high school in the U.S. for a while in L.A. And in my LA classroom, I'd say about 40% of my students were Latino, maybe 10% Asian, 10% African American. There were other 30% like white. So it was a very multi-ethnic classroom. And so I was asking this Japanese teacher, I was like, so, how do you deal with multi-ethnicism in your classroom? Because you must have some kids who have lived abroad for a bit and come back, or maybe are biracial, part Filipina, something like that. And the guy said to me, he's like, oh yeah, no, I have one kid who lived in the States for a while and he came back. His English is great. I was like, okay, so how do you work that into the general mix, since their English is so different from the other students? Oh yeah, every time there's a difficult passage, I have that student stand and read so the other students can listen to perfect pronunciation, because her pronunciation is better than mine even. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, wow, that kid hates you so much. That kid hates English class so fucking much, because there is nothing that kid probably hates more, is that, like, hey class, everybody look, while this kid who's perfect does it. Everybody, don't you wish you could be like her? And then after the class, that kid gets the shit beat out of her, Yeah, exactly. Kids who are actually sometimes good at English will put on a fake Japanese accent. I've totally seen them do it. They do it all the time because they don't want to sound good at it. It's embarrassing in some weird psychological way for the Japanese to be too good at something. You're not meant to be better than other people. You're meant to just be as good as. It's a country that idealizes mediocrity. And it's their favorite expression to explain themselves. And this system, it's translates directly into English as the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. That is a very big key to the Japanese educational system. The nail that sticks out gets hammered down. So it's all about just blending in. Oh yeah, dude, I'm junkie. All the time I'll be hanging out like Shibuya Harajuku or someplace like that. Actually, just a couple days ago, I was in that pink coffee shop I go to often, and on this show sometimes. And this lowriders 1960 Thunderbird cruised by with big tail fins, electric blue, and this Japanese dude, the big grin on his face, cruising by. It was awesome. Better not lead me to a photo of a guy with his testicles cut off, dude. I'm guessing that's from a TV commercial. I hope it is anyway. It could be a movie, I guess. I don't know. Oh yeah, I'm trying. If it's from a movie, then it's that he's about to hit her, and they're gonna take a. They're all recording it, so they'll have cell phones. But if that's actually a commercial for advertising phones, I'm not sure that's the greatest commercial ever. It's recently I've been watching a Daily Show online, and they've been doing this safe texting advertisement for this little piece of film you put over your cell phone screen, so that people next to me can't read what it is I'm typing, which I think is the ultimate in self-indulgence. It's a little piece of plastic, but basically you put it over your screen, and then from the side you can't read what people are texting, so you have privacy. We've had this in Japan for years. That was the first thing I thought. Was you people just fucking got this now? But anyway, the ad they've been running, the web ad they've been running with it, um, on like ComedyCentral.com, like in the Daily Show commercials, is late night texting, texting between lunch, public texting, private texting, texting your girlfriend, like multiple group texting, but it's like this joke on like sex, and the joke is like do it safely, protect yourself with like this screen, and they like and that's the idea. That's it. Like it's funny. I get the joke, but really is like linking your product with like STDs the best route to go for advertising? Like really? I mean, it's kind of a yeah. Essentially, what they're trying to say is like it's like safe texting is that people next to you won't know what you're writing. And the Japanese are incredibly paranoid, so like they love this. It's been huge here forever. Like everybody does it. But it's like seriously, who gives a shit? No one cares what you're texting or who you're texting to. Like it's amazing. And it's like as a result like Mixi, which is like the Japan version of Facebook. Nobody uses their real photo. Very few people use their real photo. Many people don't even use their real names on Mixi, because it's a country very, very paranoid about privacy. The government, this is ridiculous. 6, 7 years ago, the government tried to introduce a social security number system because they don't have one. They don't have like social security numbers as we do in the States. They tried to install a system where basically each person would be issued a number for the purpose of keeping government files, and the population freaked out and basically had it stopped. It still kind of ended up happening secretly, but basically everyone was afraid that once they had a number, then it would allow them to be basically tracked by Big Brother, or it was a privacy issue. In Google Maps, Google Earth right now is dealing with like an endless number of the most irritating and asinine lawsuits from Japanese people who are saying it's an invasion of their right of privacy to have a photo of the front of their house on the internet. But there's so much like so many issues about privacy with Japanese culture. I'm not sure what you mean fate wishes by that question. No, the whole thing is retarded. I mean, the whole Google Earth thing, like Google Earth, Google Maps, Google whatever the fuck it's called, is awesome. And if you were, a picture of you walking out of a porn shop or a liquor store, well then don't go walking out of porn shops and liquor stores. You had that option to not be seen doing that when you went in there. So shut the fuck up. Is my feeling. I mean, Street View is really what I'm talking about. I mean, if like they were taking like actual like X-rays of people's houses to show you what was inside their houses, obviously that'd be bad. But like, not be, like people suing because they're showing the front of their house. Seriously, give me a break. Yeah, exactly. Next thing, retarded. Hold on a second. Actually, Jesse James' argument, I can kind of see that, but now, but what's awesome is my neighborhood is so complicated. I don't even appear on Google Maps or Google Earth. I mean Google Street View or Google Maps. The road I live on does not even technically exist. That's how complicated some neighborhoods of Tokyo are. Like that, like on the map, the street I live on does not exist. My fridge is literally 5 seconds away. And with its awesome dual, I can open the door from either side because it's awesome. So that saves me like 3 seconds. Mail just came. That's exciting. I'm gonna go check and see what I got. Not mail. Chirashi. One from a company that does basically a large garbage service, recycling service, and apparently somebody wants me to move. An advertisement for a house, an open house for an apartment. If I want to buy an apartment. The greatest thing is I'm home a lot during the day because I work mostly on my computer, and like I'll get like cult people like going around door to door like with their whatever cult they belong to, trying to get them to switch religions, or like the newspaper guy, or trying to sell like newspapers, or like any number of different like retarded things. But it's really funny the emotional reaction you have to it, because like I open the door, he's like, Daily Yomiuri, which is like a newspaper, and he sees me and he's like, oh, it's foreign. He's like, oh, he's a foreign. He's not gonna want a Japanese newspaper, and he's getting ready to turn and walk away. I'm like, let's not just assume I can't read Japanese, because I get the newspaper sometimes. Yeah, I'm just and like so I want him to stay and talk like a little bit, like because I don't want him to just be like, oh, why did I even bother ringing the doorbell, and like go on to the next one, So it's like this like I want him to try and sell it to me, but he's always got this little like, oh come on, dude, you're not gonna buy this. Let's just get over this right now. We both know you're not gonna get a Japanese newspaper delivered to your house, But it's just that I just want him to have that little bit of hope or belief that I might, And then I can say, nah, I think I'm okay. I'll just buy from the newsstand. Close the door. And then the other good one is the religious people. They come by, and actually them like I pretty say like I have a religion. It's pretty good. It's worked for the last. That's why I wrote speech. I just say I've got a religion. It's worked pretty well for the last 30 years, 32 years now. I think I'm gonna stick with it, but I'll give you a call if I change my mind. But I love to get like they have usually materials, and this is the same thing because the materials are always in Japanese only, and so they're always like oh no, what should I do? Like, oh, can I see the pamphlet? And then I take the pamphlet and I kind of hold and go and I can make out like 10-20% basically of what it says, and I go well I'll read it over, but thanks. But like the key for me, and this is this weird, stupid, like emotional thing, like I can't admit that like essentially that literature is useless to me because it's far too complicated for me to read. I mean, like actually newspapers I can get the general, I can read newspapers basically. But as soon as it gets into like kind of more difficult stuff, I lose it. So like for example, like a real rag, like the National Enquirer, I could read if that were in Japanese. But if it's like the Times, I couldn't. It depends on like the level of the writing, because they literally write for different people. And like the biggest problem is I can't read the specific kanji, but if like someone reads it aloud to me, I understand the meaning completely. So like I've often had to have like especially when I first got started doing TV work, I would have to get a Japanese friend to read aloud all of the emails and stuff I would get. So I'd forward the emails to a friend, and then call him or her, and say, okay, can you read what this email says? And they'd have to like read it aloud to me on the phone. I go, okay, because I can understand, spoken Japanese much better than written. The kanji reader. I mean, the kanji, it looks good, but I just don't have $200 to waste. I don't know. I wouldn't say waste. I just don't think I would use it. I mean, I have a dictionary, but I never use it. Welcome to 32, huh? Here's some of the exciting things I got. My aunt knows I like cooking, so she gave me a lemon zester in the shape of a hummingbird. Ooh, a lemon zester. And a dish cleaning device that looks like a woman from the 1950s. My parents, the coolest thing my parents got me was these jeans I'm wearing. And they got me this assorted box of different gourmet popcorns. And as stupid as that sounds, it's like the most awesome thing ever. I think it's called Dale and Evans is the name of the company. Holy shit, this popcorn is good. It's crazy good. I just had the catalog a second ago. Yeah, Dale and Thomas popcorn. Damn, good stuff. Almond biscotti, frosted gingerbread, twice as nice chocolate drizzle corn, chocolate and peanut butter drizzle corn. I mean, like, I'm sure it's crazy expensive, but like, it's actually like really good. I used to love poppycock. Probably some Americans at least know poppycock. But I used to love that, so this is even better. But I've got like 3 or 4 bags left of the like variety pack they sent me. I'm pretty sure like the reason they're sending me popcorn though is because that's the lightest thing they could send. It's like I think now every time they buy a present for me, like the how much will this cost in postage immediately enters into their mind. Like I remember one time my aunt sent me cotton candy. I was like, giving this big box and it was like really light. And she was like, wow, nice, good job. She found the lightest possible thing to send, but still be in a big box and look like a big present. Because basically the postage ends up being more than the value of the thing they bought. Yeah, and Akane gets past Japanese customs, no problem. I mean, as long as it's a gift, it's fine. The only thing you can't do is like I think with some foreigners, it maybe starts to draw the line. Like for example, send like a huge volume of like macadamia nuts from your friends in Hawaii to you here in Tokyo, because then you could maybe resell them, like like without importing, kind of like the Trojan condom story. It's like I'm not entirely sure how legal that is, like what he was talking about, you know. I generally use Google Translate just because I'm too lazy to type anything else in. But they all suck, essentially. My favorite though is menus in Japan that clearly the staff have used Google Translate to make the English menu. Oh god, that's paradise. That's the most wonderful thing in the world. I love like internet translated Japanese English menus. Oh, man. Actually, Tracy, I thought about that for a while. I did it. I've done it twice, just for friends. Like I rewrote their English menu correctly, just because, like it's like I often went to the restaurant, and so I was sitting there one day and took out a pad and rewrote it for them. But then I was thinking, like actually, you could just put on a suit and go door to door at restaurants and say, I can translate your menu for like this much, because probably like 90% of the restaurants you go to would have like the exact same things. It would probably be like the first like 10 or 20 menus you did would be really difficult the first time you try to come up with it, but then you just have like basically a list of every food ever, uh, you know. But I wonder if you could do that, and you charge them like what, I don't know, a couple $100, and then they have an English menu. It's not a bad thing. I thought about doing it, but there's many things I thought about doing. Very few have actually done. I know, Layla Astrid's smorking. I love smorking. Oh, there's no smorking here. Where did smorking start? It makes no sense based on like the Japanese syllabary, like how that word came to happen. Smorking is the, for some reason, this typo in English when like they have like smorking corner or it's smoking with a random R in there for some reason. But I have no idea how the R got into smorking. It's so bizarre because it doesn't make any sense. Mostly, like if there's a random R, there's a reason for it. It's that there was an L there, like hero, like something like that. But the smorking, it just doesn't make any sense at all. Snorkeling. But actually, smorking is disappearing because there's fewer and fewer places you can smoke in Tokyo now. It's very sad to see, but actually, I had this. I was on the bus last week, and because I'm been in Japan too long and I'm slowly turning into either a 15-year-old girl or a homosexual, I now have these on my keychains, a little panda and a frog, so I know which is the top and which is the bottom lock. They were a gift from a small child, so I had to put them on. Did not buy these myself, I'll have you know. But anyway, I'm on the bus and I'm trying to get the thing open, and like I'm like struggling, like my fucking thumbnail almost like ripped off, trying to get this fucking thing on. And I had like this. There's this little old man next to me, like this for like 50, 60 something old guy, and like he was like watching me the entire time, like out of the corner of his eyes, like totally fascinated by me trying to like get this little panda head key back onto the ring. And finally, like I finish it, And I go, I turned to him and said, "Deketa." Like, yeah, I could do it. And he laughed because he realized like I had caught him like watching me do it the whole time. And he he noticed my knife, and he said, "I think that knife might be illegal because the law in Tokyo is 6 centimeters." Now, I've had this knife since I was like 10 years old, but you can't carry anything bigger than 6 centimeters on you in Tokyo. Any knife bigger than 6 centimeters. But he said it had to be 6 centimeters from hilt to top. But I argued it has to be only just from this part of the blade up, 6 centimeters. And so neither of us really knew, but we were just discussing that, and we were talking about the Akihabara killings. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but some dude who mistakenly thought he had just gotten fired from his job got a rental van and drove it into a crowded intersection full of people in Akihabara, and then jumped out with a hunting knife and started stabbing random people. And it was somewhat of a shock, and let's just say it was major news of the evening. But it was about 2 years ago, I guess. Now it was quite a shocking event, and since then, they shrank the size of the knife you're allowed to carry on you, and it's now illegal to sell or possess knives with blades on both sides of the steel. So, like a kitchen knife has just a cool edge on cutting edge on one side. That's fine, but if it has a cutting edge on both sides, it's now completely illegal in this country, because that was the type of knife that particular mentally ill person used when he went on his killing rampage. And so, anyway, me and the old man were talking, and he said, like, yeah, so, after Akihabara, and I'm like, yeah, I remember Akihabara. It's like, yeah, we got rid of all those knives. I'm like, yeah. And the guy said, but I don't think there's any, how do you put it? But I don't think there's any fewer mentally ill people in Tokyo because that knife is no longer for sale. I just laughed, and I'm like, you are exactly right, dude. You are exactly right. Because the whole point is that it's like what did you really do? What did you really do? And we had this really long conversation, and there was a couple times at which he got a little bit too deep for me, and I lost what he was saying. But I went and pretended to understand. But essentially, the discussion was, and this was all coming from him. He was very loud, and he was just one of those loud old men you get stuck talking to on a bus. And since no one else ever talks on public transportation, the entire bus was listening to our conversation, I'm sure. His basic point was the difference between the word liberty and the word freedom, and that liberty and freedom are not the same things. But he said Japanese people cannot understand the concept or the difference between those two things, but you Americans do understand the difference between those two things. And essentially, liberty is for example, the freedom to government, constitutionally endowed, Bill of Rights types of things, But freedom is freedom from constraint by societals, judgments or things like that. And no, but I mean, he was paying a compliment, but it basically was saying that many Japanese people don't understand really what the difference between the two things is, and so for many Japanese people, for example, cosplaying is a kind of freedom, an expression of their freedom, but there's actually very little freedom of original thought in that. But anyway, it was a very, very interesting conversation, and it was really, really, really random. But now he has me paranoid about my pocket knife. That's the only thing. The sum total result of the conversation was I'm now paranoid. I'm going to stop by a police officer and get my knife taken away. But I've had that knife since I was at least 10 years old, my family went to some knife foundry in Canada, and I bought that in the gift shop. I thought I was like the coolest person in the world to have like a knife that like, and it was literally, it was a knife that like parents would like their 10-year-old have, you know. Little pig sticker. Yeah, no, actually, I've thought about doing that. Just going into like the police box and saying, like, "Hey, dudes, like, this is my knife. Is this okay or is it not?" But, yeah, my general policy is if you don't ask, they can't say no. Well, that's the other thing. That's, I mean, like samurai swords and stuff like that. After the war, were all outlawed. Like, but there's a shitload of them. A lot of houses in Japan, like I mean, real houses, like family generationally owned houses. You know, great grandpa's sword, is in a closet somewhere in the upstairs room. A lot of them got buried circa 1945. A lot of them made their way back to the States as like war trophies. There's actually a whole fascinating world online of people in America who have swords that were left behind by their grandfather who like brought it back as a war treasure from World War II, and those people are trying to have the sword returned to the families of the person who died, so that basically the grandchild of the Japanese dude who was killed by the American soldier, that American soldier's grandchildren are now trying to reconnect with the grandkids on the other side and send back the sword, because often the sword was a family heirloom that had gone generations. Um, but it's a very interesting sort of little slice of the internet if you look into it. It's sort of like Match.com, but for grandparents, like grandchildren of, people. And one of the newspapers here, the Japan, I think it's Japan Times, recently just ran a whole section about it. Like, it's really interesting though. Yeah, but a lot of those swords are gone. Yeah, it would be another good conversation. Yeah, getting. I hope it's give. No, I can't come up with an acronym. That's fine. That works. Oh God, Nexie, that's horrible. I don't have a knife. The only knives I have are Cutcos. I have like kitchen knives. That's all I have. Well, that's the thing. You can carry as big a knife as you like in Tokyo if you keep it concealed. Um, that's the key word there, being concealed. If nobody sees it, you can carry pretty much anything you want. Although it's kind of hard to walk normally with a like a samurai sword down your pants. But yeah, if you're gaijin, you're gonna get stopped. At least once every couple months, depending on the type of gaijin you look like. Like in the neighborhoods you're in. Like if you hang out in areas popular for like drugs and shit like that, you'll get stopped. And the scariest thing now, this is really frightening. I don't know if I already bitched about. Yeah, I think I already bitched about this a couple weeks ago. But recently, they've been stopping foreigners like early morning in Roppongi, like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in Roppongi as they're coming out of clubs to go home, and taking urine samples off of random foreigners on the street. So you've been out clubbing all night. You're going for your taxi or your bus home, and you get stopped by cops. They ask for your card, and they pull out a little plastic cup and take a sample. Then they send it back to the lab, and if you're clean, then you don't hear from them again. But if you're not, you'll get a little visit from Mr. Friendly Local Neighborhood Officer. Yeah, I know, and it's like right now, it's just started, so it's kind of been the outrage hasn't really hit yet. So like it'll become an issue probably in the next month or so, but right now it's not in the mainstream like kind of news conversation, because it crosses a point of personal privacy beyond you know, what would you call, like, I don't know, well, yeah, privacy, I guess. And it's also like an issue of like probable cause. If someone's doing something that you suspect, oh, this person might be high on drugs, like if the person is like dancing in the middle of the street or doing something crazy, like and he appears to be on some type of narcotic, then it's understandable. But like just like walking out of a club, or what they've done, I've heard recently, they've raided clubs where they just close off all the doors, and basically they take a sample from everyone in the club and search everybody in the club and let them out one at a time. But yeah, I mean, they're really locking down on that stuff. I don't think that would work for the kids show I write, though. That's the problem. I'm not in news. But, fatal issues, essentially, and this is essentially the case, but not completely. The concept of mental depression does not exist in Japan for the majority of people. People don't believe that it's a real condition, which is why 30,000 people will kill themselves per year in Japan. Like no one seeks treatment for depression. Like what you do is you drink, and if it's really that bad, you jump in front of a train. It's like no man. It's a cultural thing. I'm sure it's similar in some other cultures, but like it's not believed that men have that issue, and a man would never admit to having like that issue. A man would never say I'm depressed or whatever. They just become alcoholics, or they kill themselves, or do something else. But what my whole point is exactly this, Biscuit. Like the number of like working psychologists, therapists is almost non-existent. It's like the most rare of things, like it's very, very, very rare. And like they joke that like every American goes to a therapist. They think it's funny, like that, like we all go to therapists because like just nobody, very few people do it. Very few people do it. So I don't know if it's just a pride thing, or it's just I don't know. It's like, for example, like human resources, like the human resources department in like major companies is like 2 people. There's no idea that that's supposed to be something that like more and more they're doing it. I mean, it's expanding and like ideas, but like having someone in the office to check with all the staff now and then to make sure that they're not suicidal. Like companies didn't used to think that was part of like that was a job somebody in the company needed to have. Um, but yeah, it's a blind eye thing. That they just like, they just don't like to admit that it's real, so therefore it's not real. Generally speaking. But instead, I think everyone here self-medicates with alcohol or hostesses. Like instead of going to a therapist, they go to a hostess bar. Good night, Emily. Oyasumi. And Field 22, I am feeling depressed, but only because I have to work tomorrow. And it's a Saturday. But otherwise, no. I just listen to depressing music. Well, yeah, no, there are psychologists around. It's just they're not nearly as popular as they are in the States. It's like a fraction of the number of people who are in some type of treatment, like like whether it be just a therapist, an analyst, or something like that. Like it's a fraction of what it is in the U.S. Like the number of people who are trained to even do that job is like a fraction. Later, Tamerlane. No, Nicholas, I haven't. I don't like upgrading stuff. It always causes more problems than it fixes. I just like to leave things the way they are. Yeah, literally last night, I was at Hachiko Crossing, the big crossing in Shibuya, like that major crossing, and there was this little old man, this little gray old man with some horrible like posture, like you see like the little old ladies with like they look like they've been eating candy canes their whole lives. They're like totally crooked over. And he was basically in the middle. No, he's not a hunchback. He's just like a calcium deficiency. The guy looked like he was like 90 years old, but he was like literally in the middle of Hachiko crossing. He got like halfway across on his cane, was standing there, and the cars started going, and there must have been, I guess, 50 to 150 people maybe on either side of the crossing, standing there watching this little old man, like standing in the middle of the street, one of the biggest intersections. And I look around me, and like all these deputies were like staring, like abune, abune, like just saying like, oh shit, that's dangerous. And I'm like, is somebody gonna do something? Is anybody gonna actually help in some way? And so part of me was like, I could like run out there, and at least I'm more noticeable than this little guy, and I can try and like make him more obvious to drivers. But I'm not too excited about the idea of darting out into the middle of a major intersection right now. So I went like literally, like what is it? It's 20 seconds away where there's a police station. And I said to the police officer, excuse me, there's a little old man, stuck in the corner of the, crossing. And the police guys run over. Like, but by the time the police guys get there, the lights have now changed, and the little old man, starts going across again. But it's just like, seriously, but it's like this weird Tokyo disease. People just stand there and stare, like, oh, look at that. That guy's probably going to get hit by a car, huh? Whereas, like, if that had been New York, I swear to you that, like, there would not have been nearly that amount of huge inaction. Some fucking meathead from Jersey would have run out and been like, I got you, old man, you know. But it really is, yeah, it's almost like that's a good name for it, the Godzilla effect. It's just, wow. Huh. You know? But I don't know. I think that's common though in a lot of big cities. You know, people just don't want to get involved because it's not their problem, so they just turn their back on it. But I mean, I'm not from like the city part of New York City, but I think I am a New Yorker. And I think New Yorkers in general would do something. Somebody would. Somebody is, like there's some dude who was like he waits all day for shit like this to happen so he can get involved. You know. Oh yeah, Rocky. Oh, you never strangers never talk to other people, like in Tokyo. That's like, well, that's why like that guy on the bus. That whole conversation was so, like, unlikely. We never talk to the person next to you on the bus. It all started because he'd been watching me for 5 minutes trying to put a keychain together. You meet people through introductions. You meet people when you're interested in work. I mean, the culture of introductions in Japanese is so ornate and in depth, Nicholas, you can if you're a foreigner, because Japanese people go, oh, it's a foreigner. They do that. Your foreigner people do that. But if you're a Japanese guy and you do that, she will think you are mentally ill and be very scared. Because you don't know each other. You do not talk to each other. It's like my friend Ken, again, to quote Ken, is another comedian in my group, and he said, I remember the first time I went to America and I got on the airplane and I was sitting in my airplane seat. Ken Suzuki is a comedian guy in my comedy group, and I just got on my airplane. I got in my seat, and next to me was a beautiful Western woman, and she smiled at me, and I couldn't understand. And I thought about it. Maybe she is crazy, or maybe she is mentally retarded, or maybe she's trying to sell me the Bible. But it's like, well, why is this stranger smiling at me? Like there's no reason for like a person you don't know to like interact with you. Well, then there's a one exception to this rule, which is young Japanese men who hang out at major crossings, and most of them, I mean, there are some who do it just to try and meet girls, but the wide majority of them doing it to try and find hostesses to work in bars. So they walk up to random women who are cute, and they offer them to try to get them a job at a hostess bar. So they're like hooking women to work as hostesses, essentially. That exists. That's the only time basically people talk to strangers. And there's also some scam artists in the city. Popular one is palm readers. Like women walk up to some other random sad-looking woman on her way home from work, whatever, and say, "Let me see your palm," and they con them out of money by looking at their palm. And so there is like these rare examples where one stranger might talk to another stranger, but they're almost always to do with some type of illicit business. Normal people do not talk to normal other people ever. Like waiting online. And that's it. I love this when I go back to the States. Every time I go back to the States, and I'm online at Starbucks, or I'm online at fucking Burger King and someplace like that, I end up getting into this conversation with some random person next to me. And it's so American that you have no idea how incredibly American that is. You're just standing there waiting, and the dude's like, "Man, how long is this gonna be, huh?" And you're like, yeah, right. Seriously. And you just have that random conversation, and then you move on with your lives. That never happens in Tokyo. That never happens in Tokyo. There's no small talk if you don't know the person. But again, if you're a foreigner and you do it, like they'll all go, "Oh, it's a foreigner. It's not weird if I do it because I'm a foreigner." But if you're a Japanese guy and you do it, it freaks out other Japanese people because Japanese people are like, "Why does he not understand the rules of this society?" So like as a foreigner, you can totally get away with it. And actually, this is a classic argument. It's often, and I can say this almost as a fact, it's very difficult for Western men to have good friendships with Japanese men. It's very difficult to make that work successfully. It's possible. Like I have a few, but it's very difficult because what always happens is, and I ask any number of gaijin who've been here for at least 5 years, and they'll tell you the same thing. You meet this Japanese dude from, like, I don't know, a softball team you play on the weekends, and you're like, hey, let's go out, let's do something, and you go out to a bar, and then you're out, you're having beers, you're drinking, and there's this table of cute girls over there, and the Japanese dude's like, oh, cool, let's go talk to the girls, right? You know, let's talk to them, and the Japanese guy would never ever go over and talk to the girls himself because he has been raised throughout his entire life and never ever just talk to some random strange gaijin, like, or any type of foreign woman, unless he was introduced, unless they sat next to each other in school and had to work on a science project together. He's never done that, and he knows the gaijin guys can do it because, like, we have all had to go through that humiliating experience dozens of times in our life where we go and ask some girl out to the prom and she says, oh my god, no, you know, and so the gaijin guys go, all right, let's do it, and the gaijin guys go over and talk to the group of girls, and Japanese male friend tags along, and then all of them are sitting around and you're talking and you're drinking, and the Japanese dude is like, this is awesome, it's like having a puppy, you know, like women suddenly, you know, just appear. But what always ends up happening is he becomes somewhat invisible in the room. He becomes, like, basically in the room. And one of the reasons is, and actually I had this happen not too long ago, a situation where I was with a Japanese friend in a bar, and we met two girls, and basically, you know, we were talking, or I was talking and the girls were talking and he was saying nothing, and I realized it's because I hadn't introduced him yet to the girls. Much later, like, I think he was sitting there waiting for me to introduce him, but it's like they just don't have, like, that basic skill that without that basic skill in the US, like, you will never ever get laid ever. It will be impossible. And so at some point you have to man up in the States and go talk to some random girl or go, like, you know. But the thing is, like, in my mind, I don't have to introduce him. He just has to talk because I'm not, you know, I'm not like point man on this, you know. And so it always becomes then eventually this thing where the Japanese guy appreciates the fact that when he's around the gaijin men, gives him easier access to cute girls, but he then begins to resent them because Japanese girls obviously are more interested in talking to the foreigner than they are to the Japanese guy, because there's a ton of Japanese guys in their office they talk to all the time. There's not a whole bunch of foreigners they meet, so they're more interested in the foreigner. And the Japanese dude, unless he is extremely okay with himself and self-confident and you know, unless he's a really solid guy, begins to become resentful of his friend, essentially, and it causes friction, and then that can quickly spiral into dislike of foreign men. So it's a weird thing that, like, you basically, the Japanese guy has to be self-confident enough that it doesn't make him paranoid, you know,
like that you're at the bar and suddenly he's got to like have to self-motivate and, you know, talk. So basically, yeah, it can be very difficult for long-term foreign male, Japanese male relationships. But the whole thing is like, you know, from the Western guy point of view, you shouldn't have to introduce him. You're already talking. Like, you just start speaking to them. They're there. You know, they're waiting to talk. They're giggling. You know, but the Japanese guy in the group of like 4 or 5 guys will always kind of like recede into the background slowly because he's waiting for someone to specifically address him with a question. You know, and so it's like, you know, it it's basically, I mean, it's a lack of bar skills. But and I've met a lot of Japanese guys who have like lived abroad. Like I have one friend who's lived abroad. He lived in the States. Actually, I work with him now. He's lived in the States, and he's actually pretty good. He knows, you know, he knows how to, you know, he knows the Western mind, you know. But like for Japanese people who have never been abroad, ugh. Ken Suzuki is a whole different ball of wax. My God, oh man, I've set up Ken on so many dates. It's shocking. It's shocking the number of dates I've set up Ken on. He's great, but man, so I'm starting to give up on Ken. The problem is Ken is just he's too unique. He's too unique. It's weird. He doesn't quite fit in here. He doesn't quite fit in the States either. You know. Yeah, Anfield, 22. You got it right. But basically, it's like the whole point of my story is essentially it can be difficult for male bonding relationships between, like, you know, Japanese men and Western men, because, like, you know, women get in the middle of that, obviously, in a way they wouldn't for basically just like 3 gaijin hanging out or 3 Japanese guys hanging out. Also, culture is different. So, like, you know, if a foreign person wants to talk to some random, like, if I just see some random cute girl on the train, I can just go, hey, hi, how you doing? You know, and she won't think I'm crazy. But if I was Japanese, she would think I was crazy. Because I would be, because that's not what they do. It's a different cultural situation. It's totally different. Oh yeah, I need to be careful. I'm talking about Ken Suzuki, not Ken Tanaka. Just in case anyone's confused. I forget that most people automatically think of Tanaka when I say Ken. Yeah, Anfield 22, exactly. Foreign women and Japanese women, fine, I think. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, Layla might have a better idea than I have. That's funny, Anfield. And that's the thing is, I have many female Japanese friends. I mean, like, seriously, just friends, like just Japanese women who are female and friends. There's no issue there. But with guys, there's often an issue. The only times I've seen guys who have had successful, like, friendships with with Japanese dudes is when there's some mutual thing the two of them do that they both enjoy. Like, for example, Dave, who's been on the show a couple times, he plays street hockey. So he has Japanese friends from street hockey, but they only ever talk about street hockey, and all they do is street hockey, and that's it. The relationship is confined to one small, you know, specific activity. Then it's fine. But, like, in terms of having, like, a full, complete, like, what you would call friendship, I've seen them rarely. It's weird. Because I think it's men's ego issues. It all goes down to men's ego. Lucky 893. I don't know. I've heard people say they have, but you know. But I think it helps. I think it's only possible if the Japanese man in question has lived in a foreign country for a while and then come back to Japan. I think that's the only situation in which it's possible. Oh no, no. Actually, with Western women and Japanese men, it's no problem at all. No problem at all. That's fine. Mm. Uh, Nicholas 1989. I have no idea. I mean, I can't even imagine percentage-wise. But I mean, it's probably not that unlike the States. I mean, there's a lot of women in the States. Just take my own country as an example, who their parents' judgment still affects their own decision making, despite them being adults. And then there's other ones who will do exactly the opposite of what their parents would like, simply because that's what they want to do. About a third of Japanese marriages are still arranged. The rest met in university or in the office. Nicholas 1989, I suppose it's possible, but unlikely. The only thing they have kind of like what you might call normal young dating is what's called it's very popular, it's called a gokon. I'm actually kind of running a gokon this Sunday. We're not calling it a gokon, but it's a gokon. Where a Japanese girl gets like 5 of her single friends, and then the Japanese guy gets 5 of his friends, and they all go out to dinner together. And the girls all sit on one side, and the guys all sit on one side, and they have dinner and drinks, and laugh at really stupid jokes that are not that funny, way too much. And like there's always one in every restaurant, and they're always fucking so drunk and so loud, and everyone gets really drunk. And then like the next day, if one of the girls liked one of the guys, she talks to the girl who is the contact and say, if that guy's interested, give him my phone number or email. And the guys, so basically like they go through the 2 people who arranged it. Some might just actually right there say it, but it's kind of, you don't want to say it, because if she's like, she might take it and then never call. So it's sort of like it's it's weird, but it's basically like a group date. Yeah, no, it is childish, incredibly childish. It's like it's a group blind date, but gokons are another place. And I don't think anybody ever actually meets their wife at a gokon. Some people hate them, some people love them. The best story I ever heard about a gokon, Gokon. This guy Tadasuke was a student of mine. He said him and his friend, he was a young, really handsome, like young 20-something guy. And he said me and my friends would say, okay, we'll meet at Hachiko, whatever. And he said, and then we have this signal, pull your ear, and so if they show up and the girls are all ugly, they all look at each other and pull the ear, and then it's the signal that they have to quickly escape and bail on the situation. And so they'd have some complicated then excuse as to why the gokon would suddenly have to be off, because he said you don't want to spend because you have to the guys have to pay, first of all. You don't want to end up spending $70-$80 for dinner and drinks, to be stuck talking to some hideous woman. So but I thought that was one of the most evil things I had ever heard, that have an escape plan set for your blind date. Because if it's a blind date, it's difficult. You can't. I'm sure there's been a number of people who have faked illness within 5 minutes of their blind date starting, but The but yeah, it's pretty clever, but evil, all the same. The song was called "Taller," by the way, by the impossible to find Lincoln. Braces are getting more popular. Actually, Ken Suzuki's had them for. He just got his off about like 2 months ago. But Ken Suzuki had braces for like the last 5 years. It's hilarious. Man in his mid-30s with braces. So yeah, it's becoming more popular, but it's not as common as in the States. Late Blossom, probably. He loves when I talk about him. But you have to understand, outside of the U.S., people are not nearly as obsessed with white, straight teeth as Americans are. This is like a specifically American mental illness that comes from years of watching, like, you know, sitcoms, essentially. You know, Hollywood has created like a generation of people who are obsessed with that, to the point of like mental illness. Same as weight loss or other things like that. Like in other countries, as long as your teeth are not like rotting, they're fine, you know. But like, yeah, crookedness, eh. I don't think Maggie. I don't think the braces are gonna be all she needs, dude. I hate to say it. The Asian Spice Channel. That's a good question. Always pearls. I'm 32 as of last week, sadly. Woohoo! Bonzi! Last week. Anfield. All women are more desperate as they reach 30. It grows exponentially almost by the minute after the age of 30. I guess the show got canceled. They had told me that they were going to run 2 more pieces of mine they had bought for me that I put together for them. And then last time I heard, they're actually taking off the Travel Channel website, the submit your own video section. They had like a kind of YouTube-inspired video section, and I think they're getting rid of it. They're cutting it from the website. So, an experiment failed, I guess. It was called "What's Your Trip?" I believe they're axing it. Nicholas, I rarely listen to Japanese music. I'm forced to sometimes, like when I'm outside walking around the streets, it's blared at me against my will. But I don't generally buy it or watch it on TV, or I avoid it as much as possible. The narration job, I guess I'm uploading. I'm up down. The number of people in the room has gone up. I'm now updating people on the first half of today's show. Actually, the first 90% of today's show, because I'm not going to be on much longer. Yeah, still doing the narration thing. We're doing German tomorrow, so I'll be in a narration booth for like 12 hours on my Saturday, listening to German people scream and make breathing noises. So it should be fun. I don't think it matters if I tell, actually. Like there was no NDA, there was no non-disclosure agreement, and I mean the game has already been announced. It's already been released, I believe, in Japan. It's just the localization for it. It's called Calling. It's by Hudson, and basically it's the Wii controller becomes a haunted cell phone, and you explore, or the Wii controller is also a flashlight, and you explore like a haunted Japanese, like Ju-on style house, where these ghosts attack you, and you have to like find your way through the storyline and, I don't know, maybe escape at the end or something. And so the Wii controller is either a cell phone, and sometimes you have to answer the cell phone and like it talks to you, and sometimes it's a flashlight. It's a kind of interesting use of the Wii controller, but anyway, now they're just doing the localization into the different languages for release. All American movies are huge here. Obviously, Hollywood dominates. A yoga DS game. Oh my god. Hudson has done a lot of stuff. Like, and I remember when I was a kid, like, I played a lot of games from Hudson on the original, like, Nintendo. I have a feeling they did Mega Man. No, that was Capcom. What am I thinking? They did, or maybe Ultima? Bomberman? Was that it? And Ultima, I think. I know they did some RPG I really liked, but I'm not sure if it was. I can't remember what it was. Yes, somebody's Googling it. No, not Zelda. That was done in-house. That was Nintendo. Isn't it over? Isn't Tokyo Game Show over? I think it was late. It was the end of August, I thought. Oh, it was this week. It was this week, meaning this weekend. No, I'm not. Bomberman was good. I liked Bomberman. Brian said they have dramas, hour-long dramas, but some of them are derivative of Hollywood shows. Like there was like a Japanese version of almost every popular show, but the problem is the budgets are so different. Like an average Japanese drama has at best like a tenth the budget of like an American show like Prison Break or Lost. So they're always really bad. And also here all dramas, almost all TV shows they take a popular idol or talent, someone who's just generally famous for no real specific reason, like either they're a singer or they are just a cute person, and they then base the entire show as a vehicle for that person, because all the people who like that person will then tune in to see the drama. Whereas in like the States, like every time a new drama comes out, like you find like 5 new stars, like new actors, because they've gone and found the most talented, like young new talent they can get, who are actually good actors, to try and make the show good. Whereas in the States, like we're in Japan, it's basically people that are already famous, and the show is simply a vehicle for them to be on air. So I watch Japanese comedy shows, like to keep track of what's going on, but I try not to. Actually, I'm afraid I'm going to have to get going soon. I got a couple hours work to do before I get to my show tonight. Speaking of comedy. hopefully as soon as my laptop's fixed, I'll be out and about again. But for now, I'm here. Again, I just want to remind you guys, check out that JIBTV monitor thing. JIBTV, again, is a website that streams TV shows in English about Japan. And right now we're looking for monitors. Monitor meaning someone to watch programming on the show and then send in a review, like a 3 to 5 paragraph review of the show. And in return, you get paid a $25 Amazon.com gift certificate. The application form for that is on the website, which is on jibtv.com. I can't find the, it won't let me fucking paste for some reason. Someone else was able to before. If anyone can paste the link to the application thing, that would be awesome. Yeah. So yeah, check that out. Guess that's it for me. I'm gonna go work now. Bah. I haven't seen the yokai episode. I don't know it. It was done without me, so I have no idea. But yokai is cool. Yokai is awesome. Anyway, I should go. Nice talking to you all. Thank you for stopping by, and keep fucking that chicken.